Modern Warfare 3 Reloaded has a brand new zombies Easter egg, and I'm going to walk you through every single one of the steps to open up the portal, how to upgrade the items from purple to gold that you find in the regular map, what to expect in this brand new Dark Aether, and a secret boss at the end of it. Let's get into it. Now, before you even just jump into the brand new update, you want to make sure you have the right story mission equipped inside of your story missions or the axe, because you're not going to be able to go forward unless you have this completed. And the story mission itself is also inside of the tier 3 area inside of the game in a very prominent location where a Mega Margwa sometimes spawn, but it'll be very easy to find, and the game should ping it for you when you first enter the game. Obviously, you're going to need to go through this entire story mission to complete it, and when you do, you're going to come across an end boss fight against a very unique disciple, and when you defeat the disciple, this rift is going to open up, and you're going to get a gold giraffe toy. This is one of 4 items. Now, these other 3 items are not going to be able to be found inside of the story mission, unlike Season 2 Reloaded's Dark Aether, so you might as well just complete the rest of it, enjoy the actual story, because I think the end cutscene is fantastic, but you are going to need to get back to the main map to continue this Easter egg. Now, these other 3 items are going to be a scientific journal, a laptop with stickers, and a imaginary friend drawing, which I'm going to cover the drawing right now. You want to make your way inside of the main map to the coordinates of I-7, particularly to this mansion that I'm pinging right here on side of the video. It's going to be inside a very particular room. I will caution you that sometimes this is a mercenary stronghold or an infested stronghold, so deal with those as you normally would in any other situation inside of this game. Make your way after you've completed those certain situations to this very specific room in this very specific bed, lay underneath it, and you're going to interact with a very interesting item. You don't have to shoot it like I did. I just attempted it for the first time to see if that's how you activate it. But you need to interact with it any way that you normally do, whether it's on a controller or on a keyboard. When you do interact with it, you're going to have the entity start talking to you about the backstory around this drawing essentially, and you're going to have a portal show up on top of this bed that is simply going to have the purple level rarity of this imaginary friend drawing. Now let's move on to our second item that we need to get in a purple level rarity. Now thankfully, getting the scientific journal is fairly simple in the actual act of what you have to do. All you have to do is get to where the Aether Storm is inside your game, wherever it may be, and either kill a certain amount of zombies. I don't know the full amount of zombies. All I know is that you have to kill a lot of zombies inside of this Dark Aether Storm, or you have to kill the Stormcaller itself. Now those of you that have played this game since its release, you know that the Stormcaller is not easy to kill, and it takes a lot of bullets and really high level weaponry to do so. It's not going to be the easiest thing, so I highly recommend going through the other option where you have to kill a bunch of zombies inside of the Dark Aether Storm. Now, of course, if you kill the Stormcaller, it's going to open up this portal immediately, and I recommend just killing as many zombies as you possibly can to open up the portal for the zombie side of this. Now, as you may guess, as soon as you get this portal to open up one of these 2 ways, you're going to have the scientific journal and the purple level rarity. Now let's move on to our final purple item that we have to get. Now, to get the laptop, you have to get a dog first. Either you have to do it by going through missions and getting headshots to get meat to then add into a random doghouse that you see across the entire map, or you could bring your own dog using the dog bone schematic. If you have the dog bone schematic ready, I recommend you just go ahead and do that, because it makes it a lot easier than having to find 3 to 4 pieces of meat to then find a random spawn of the doghouse, or there's one in the tier 3 area, whatever you want to do. Now once you have this hellhound spawned, you need to go and find either a mercenary stronghold or a mercenary camp. I recommend the camp because you don't have to have a key card to get into it, and you have to have your dog kill the sergeant, which is going to be the merc with the red cap. As soon as that dog kills that sergeant, you're going to have a portal open up that will then give you the purple level rarity of the laptop. Now that you have all 3 purple items, our next step is to move into the tier 3 to do a couple different puzzles. Now the idea behind these puzzles in the tier 3 area are all the same. You have to get to a very specific location. This is going to be the first one that I'm showing you. You're going to see a glowing triangle on the ground. You need to do 360 degrees around you, find 3 separate plaques that have glowing symbols on them. All you have to do is then shoot these 3 symbols, doesn't matter the order, and then make your way to a very specific location at each one of these 3 locations. Now these specific locations are going to have symbols on buildings that you need to line up to make a larger triangle. For this particular one, right next to the main portal that we're going into for this Easter egg, it's going to be on top of this scaffold, I guess, and you're going to see these glowing items, these glowing symbols on these buildings. When you get to a certain point, it's all going to align, and it's going to ask you to perform the summoning when you have some of these purple items in your inventory. The goal now is to kill as many zombies as you can to fill up this soul box. You're going to know that the zombies are in the right range when they're inside of the purple ring around you and they're glowing purple. As soon as you kill zombies that are purple, they're going to fill up this soul box. You'll know the soul box is finished when you have a mini boss show up. In this case, it's going to be a bunch of hellhounds and then one particular hellhound that is named that you have to kill. Once you kill this mini boss, and we'll go over the other 2 locations so you can get the other 2 items to gold, you'll have this rift that opens up that's going to turn one of your items, in my case, the scientific journal, to gold. Now the second of these 3 three different triangle puzzles that you can find is going to be right here, right next to the main area that you usually see a Margwa spawn. It's going to be just outside of these palace walls. Again, do 360 degrees around you, look for these three different plaques that are glowing symbols on there, and you'll get a notification that you've shot all three of them when Ravenov starts to talk to you, and symbols on the building to the right of you, right next to where you started shooting all these plaques, start to glow. To get this particular triangle aligned, you're going to need to make your way on top of the wall itself over to the second section and look back towards all the different buildings that you're just shooting at, and you'll find them all aligned up when you get to a certain part on here. It can be tricky. Hit the perform the summoning action item, and you'll have to do the same soul box idea that we just did on the previous one. Now, the mini boss for this particular triangle is going to be a very tanky mangler. Obviously, all you have to do is defeat him however you possibly can, and another rift is going to open up for you. This is once again going to be one of your purple items that hasn't been turned gold yet, turned gold. For me, it was the imaginary friend drawing. Now, the third and final triangle puzzle that you're going to find is also really close to the palace, right outside the palace walls at the particular location that I'm showing you here on my map. Once again, you're going to find a small triangle that's glowing. Need to circle around 360 degrees. Look for these three particular plaques with the glowing items, and once you have all three of them shot, you'll get another conversation with Ravenov, basically confirming that you shot all three. And just like the other two, you need to make your way to a very particular location. This time, it's going to be on the second floor of a particular building and where the staircase usually is. You want to go to the exact location that I'm about to land on inside of your game. It is a little bit tricky because this one actually lines up in this stairway when it looks like it should have lined up in a different location. Nonetheless, once you get to this location, the soul box will appear and you need to hit perform the summoning action item one more time and fill up the soul box. Now, this final soul box is going to spawn a mimic, not as tanky as the mangler, but a lot more tanky than the dogs. Obviously, all you have to do is defeat this guy. The final rift is going to open up. It's going to have your final gold item, which for my case was going to be the laptop with stickers turned gold. Now that you have all the gold items in your inventory, make your way over to the brand new portal. And just like the other two seasons portals, you're going to have 4 different pedestals that you have to correctly place these items onto. Now, there's going to be a little bit of a tricky situation because obviously, as you can see, 3 of these items are all square and they don't really identify well which one goes on which square pedestal, if that makes any sense to you. So to try and make this a little bit easier, when you're looking at the story mission portal, the small triangle portal, to the pedestal to the left, you're going to want to put in the laptop with stickers. You're going to get confirmation that you've done this correctly when the actual symbol on the pedestal turns gold, which is a really nice hint in comparison to the other pedestals that we had in the other seasons, because that one just had the items glowing and it was a little confusing. Moving to the right pedestal, you're going to want to put in the scientific journal. Once again, you'll get a confirmation when the pedestal is glowing. Obviously, the one with the giraffe on there is clearly going to be the giraffe, and the final one that's going to be the final pedestal that doesn't have anything on there is going to be the imaginary friend drawing. Now, once you do this, all the pedestals are going to start to glow, all the items are going to disappear, and you need to be prepared for a boss fight. Now, this boss fight is going to be very similar to the one that you had inside of the story mission, where you had a disciple that summons other mini bosses to fight for you. Now, these mini bosses are going to be a little bit easier to kill just because they have lower HP, but be prepared for the fact that you are in tier 3 and there's going to be multiple mini bosses that you have to fight at the same time. Now, thankfully, just like the other seasons, once you do defeat this mini boss, he's going to open up a portal, a rift that you get to have a sigil inside of there that will allow you to go into the dark ether. With this sigil, you want to go to the bottom left side of this triangle that you're facing after you defeat the boss, and you can enter this regular sigil. On the back side is where you can enter the elder sigil if you complete all the missions inside of this brand new dark ether. Now, when you first get into this brand new dark ether, you're going to see 3 pillars of light. These are just going to be individual pillars that are going to be your brand new missions, essentially. Instead of bunnies flying around the entire map, you'll have these different pedestals that you need to activate and take up certain items from each one of these to start activating this particular mission. And the 3 missions this time around are going to be a bounty contract, an outlast contract, and an escort contract. Your bounty contract is going to be a mega abomination that's going to have a lot of the mini bosses swarming you at the same time. The outlast contract will go very quickly, but again, there's going to be a lot of mini bosses coming after you, and the escort contract is going to take a very long time. You'll also notice that every time you activate one of these pillars, there's going to be different limbs, a head, a leg, and an arm. These are all going to give you unique abilities as you have them in your inventory. These unique abilities only affect the person that's holding them, so keep that in mind when you get them, and I'll let you enjoy the actual unique abilities when you go inside of here yourself for either the regular Dark Ether or the Elder Portal. The escort contract in the normal game outside of the Dark Ether usually only has 3 of the different rifts that you have to destroy, and this one you have to destroy 4, so keep that in mind, and there's going to be a lot of zombies this time around going after this escort, so it's a lot more difficult than you might think. Now, while there is officially 3 different missions that you can do, there is a hidden 4th one that only shows up and only can be activated once you completed the first 3. It's a secret boss fight that will also open up a portal to help get you your Elder Sigil for this time around. This hidden boss could be found and activated on the small island in the middle, where you're going to see one giant polyp, that one giant cocoon that you can burst in some of the other missions in the main map. I don't know exactly how you guys want to describe this, but you're going to see the main one in the middle of this area and 3 separate smaller cocoons that you have to destroy first. Now, to find these 3 smaller cocoons, I recommend going to the edge of this entire island. It's not very big. As you can see, as I'm floating through the air, you can see one kind of south from my direction, also to the very far east and west of the island. They'll be fairly easy to find, except for the one that's right near the exit, but as soon as you go to the exit, you'll see this one as well. All you have to do is burst these things open, and then you'll be able to destroy the main one, which is in the middle of this island. Once you burst that main one open, be prepared for a tanky disciple that, again, summons a bunch of different smaller mini bosses to help protect it. As you can see, I had a bunch of people with me when I got this recording, so it was a lot easier to burst down this guy, but again, in a solo situation, it is not as easy as we're making it look. But when and however you take down this boss, you're going to eventually have a rift that opens up. Once you have defeated it, that's going to have a couple different things. You're going to have an Elder Sigil and some pretty high level loot that comes with it, but you'll also be able to get a very unique Disciple blueprint that is only available by completing this boss fight. So in the end, if you want to get the Elder Sigil this time around, you need to defeat this boss. Now, the schematic itself is really cool as well. It has really cool details. It has the jack limb ripper, the under barrel chainsaw, which is a lot of fun to use, and the gun itself is fun to use inside of zombies. I don't know how well it is inside of multiplayer or Warzone, but nonetheless, it's a pretty cool zombie-specific reward, which we haven't had in a very long time. But that is how you can get the brand new Dark Aether open, and how you can get the Elder Sigil, the secret schematic along with it, and just all the other fun stuff that comes with this brand new Dark Aether. I hope you guys found this walkthrough guide very helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, just so it lets me know that you guys did find this helpful, and I will catch you guys in the next video.